maybe not in my everyday life, but certainly in my life throughout the year. We celebrate holidays that are traditional within our family. Both my wife and I have a background in the German communities locally around North Tonawanda, also the communities in Buffalo, and we tend to celebrate the same Catholic holidays that many other families do, but we include some of our background and heritage. What comes to mind immediately is the cooking of German Fastnacks at pre-Lenten time, a tradition both in my family, parents, and in my wife's family, and we're trying to keep that in our family. Because we live in the same general community where we were born and where our families all were living, we now still have some ties that remind us of that. Drive to the Bergholz Museum for the individuals who came over to America from Prussia and Germany, where both of us have some forebears in that community. There is a touch of that as well. The area that I grew up in was very much a single culture. I lived in a housing project. All of the families were pretty much from the same socioeconomic background, and the children that I played with, the families that I visited, the groups that we met with were generally from the same cultural and ethnic backgrounds. There's today, when we get away from just our families and get out into our community, I see a changing culture and also a more mixed culture, even in our local neighborhoods. Families from different ethnic and national backgrounds than I had met and was familiar with as a very young child now are a part of my everyday life as well. In my business and my profession, I meet individuals from many different cultures and backgrounds. I think there's a much greater awareness of that multinational and multi-ethnic character of the community that my children and grandchildren are more familiar with than I was as a child. It was very one-sided to the groups that lived in and stayed in our area. I think the availability of travel, the speed of communication, the presence of television, and with its now much more multicultural makeup, have all had a bearing on that and what the results are to me and what I see in my everyday life.
My family's heritage is German almost all the way around, father and mother. And growing up, we lived on the east side of Buffalo, and at the time they were neighborhoods of families that had immigrant grandmothers and grandfathers, or fathers and mothers, Polish and German. And up till today, I am one of 6, and I have an older brother, and at Easter time, we head off to the Broadway market. Talk about a multicultural mixture of people. That is one building full of it come Easter week and the weeks before. And a couple of the traditions of getting different sausages and meats and baked goods and other little trinkets from there is something that we enjoy doing, and have been doing it almost every year now for probably close to 10 years. I guess I couldn't even think about that not happening because it's so it just reminds me of the old neighborhood and being in Buffalo, in the neighborhood as it was, which is no longer. But just inside that building is a memory, good memories of the people that you did play with, and what you did when you were a kid. And that was go to church, had churches. Most neighborhoods were significantly Catholic or Protestant or whatever. And now, during my life as a mother and having a family of our own, we have lived in traditionally white neighborhoods in the different towns that we have lived in, or cities. But Lockport is a whole different world outside our own little streets, because we are bordered by neighborhoods that are Black and Hispanic, and I guess I really relish the fact that we are exposed to that, and now our grandchildren and our children are side by each. I think that's great. I think it's what the world is and what it started out to be. So I guess I enjoy the fact that I grew up feeling that multicultural was the way of life, was what life should be. And
I would say part of my heritage, I think, in my upbringing and through my mom and dad was growing up with religion in our life, being Catholic. And I think that plays a part in my everyday life, and that I pass that on to my kids. And we kind of follow the same traditions that I had growing up, as far as, growing up getting baptized and making our communion, and growing up, in the church. And it affects our holidays too, in that we center our holidays around, like Easter and Christmas, center them around going to church and spending time with our family. So I'd say, and with having 4 kids and passing that on to my kids, it does play a big part in my life, because they're my everyday. That's what I do. I guess that's how I would carry on my heritage and pass it on to my kids, and that's how it affects my everyday life. It means that a lot of what you do and what you see every day is different people from different cultures, and you interact with them everywhere you go. It's not just all one race that you interact with on a daily basis when you go to the stores, and even people I work with. I have, there's different people with different cultures that I work with, and just the way that those people, sometimes people have different mannerisms based on their culture, and when you interact with people, you have to be more tolerant, and just understand and realize that. The kids, our kids go to schools, and at one school, they pull from all parts of the city to the school, so you can have kids from all different neighborhoods. I think that in our city too, we have a large Hispanic population as well as African American, and the kids are in a classroom with all different people who celebrate different holidays and have different beliefs, and I think it gives them a better rounded idea of what the whole world is. If you only see one race, and you only interact with one, with other white people, you don't really have a tolerance or an understanding. It's a big world, and we're just a small part of it, and they should understand and know that there's other people out there. And I think that with our society being more multicultural every day, there's people from other countries who live here. There's interracial couples that are having children and raising them with both of their backgrounds, and I just think the kids have a better rounded idea of how the world is.
Well, the heritage isn't really a burden on my life, but you know, like practices during Easter and during Lent, because I'm Catholic. I have a few more traditions, a few more things to do, like Good Friday and everything. And then being German also plays into it. Like, we do a lot of things during Lent. We, you know, when we have Lenten feasts, we do it a lot bigger than a lot of other people do, you know. But there's nothing, like, it's not a burden like other people would say. Having to do specific things because of their heritage can be a problem, but for me it's just adds value. It's just living, really what it says, living with many different cultures. And, you know, I mean, like, when I go to school with so many different people, they're Native Americans, white, black, Asian, everybody's mixed together, and it's not like we notice it. In other societies, if it's not multicultural, they would notice if somebody was different that was around them, and they would make a point of it, or they would pay attention to it. But I don't really notice it because that's how I've been raised. It's the fact that I'm so used to everybody being different. With America being a melting pot, I just deal with everybody, you know, being different.
My family's heritage. I don't know, we don't really practice a whole lot of it. I am English, Irish, Scottish, Welsh, and German. We really don't incorporate a whole lot of our family heritage into our everyday lives, really at all. Family's not religious at all, which, I mean, I guess I don't really have a problem with, but I really don't think that, I mean, I could say that maybe I consider myself more Irish than anything else, which probably isn't true. I think we're more English than anything else, but I think I associate with the Irish. That's what I really associate with most, but it really doesn't play into how I live or act on a daily basis. I don't choose to interact with only people of Irish descent or of English descent. I mean, especially going to a school that is so diverse. I just don't think that my heritage plays any part of my life today. Multicultural society, well, especially being a student at a diverse school like UB, you really kind of witness it on an everyday basis. I believe that living in a multicultural society means that you have different cultural traits, traditions, aspects that weave their way into mainstream culture today, I guess. And everything from music, you know, religious traditions, food, I mean, all of that kind of blends together to create a culture that most people buy into, I guess. But going to UB, you get to really see that multicultural aspect a lot. There's so many different students from all over the world that you really get to see what it's like. I guess that's pretty much it about what I believe as living in a multicultural society. It's
basically the customs and things that my family do together, things that we do as a family that make us who we are in terms of what holidays we celebrate, what types of things are important to us, what we value, things like celebrating birthdays as a family or celebrating holidays, and you get together and you celebrate the aspect of that specific holiday or that specific celebration that you're doing. So it's really important that you take what you do on a regular basis or what you do with your family. Well, some societies don't celebrate birthdays. I think that's an important one right there. A lot of people don't pay attention to the fact that, oh, they were born this day, a year ago or 10 years ago or whatever. So that's an important thing that we do celebrate one more year together, one more year that we've made it and continue. The same thing with the holidays. It's, some people don't celebrate Christmas, for example, or, other holidays aren't, celebrated by them. My family celebrates things like Christmas and Easter, Thanksgiving, giving thanks for what we have. Some people don't do that. So I think those are very important, that where we come from, our background and the holidays that our previous ancestors have celebrated that we continue to celebrate as we go along. I believe that it means that different people from different cultures are coming together and living for us in the same country in the United States, that we aren't just French or just German or just Italian or English. We're all mixed together and we all bring different things from our own respective backgrounds. So I think it's good to mix it up, and different people are doing different things, so it's important to relate to each other and say, there's no one right or wrong way to do things, or right or wrong holidays to celebrate, or foods to eat, that everyone gets to do their own thing, and even if it's not something that you do, the person next to you might be doing something different. So it's important to see that other people live differently depending on where they come from, or what their values are, what they value in their everyday lives, what they value in general. It's important to see that what other people live differently based on where they come from, what their families do, what traditions are passed down from one family to another, what our ancestors do before us, and what someone from a different country does before them. So it's really important.
Everything from spending holidays together with family, from being Polish and eating pierogies and sauerkraut and mushroom soup on Christmas, and Grandpa handing out presents, to families getting together for birthdays. I really think that's important. It plays into everyday life. Simple stuff that my grandparents passed down over the years, to praying before meals, and everything you do kind of relates around something you've learned from your family and through your heritage. Christmas is the big one for us. We get together, the whole family gets together, everybody from out of town, everything comes to my grandfather's house. We eat our pierogi, our fish, and our sauerkraut mushroom soup, and spend all of Christmas together.
Okay.
I think it's very important. America is a good melting pot. Everything from food to other people's heritages and everything you learn about them. You can one night have Chinese food, the next night have burritos as Mexican food.